I finally get to talk normal now. Because when I first got here, you notice I've been really quiet because I was like, I don't want you to talk about anything until it's firstly almost like on camera. So almost like a series where every time I come to Spokane, I can stop into here, see what you got going on, what you've sold, what you obtained, what you're working on. That's what I want this to be. So introduce, even though I know who you are, introduce yourself to the viewers and your business and what you got going on.
Well, I'm nothing special, number one, but I'm Cody Rodenbow, owner of Lincoln Buildworks. Started this business. I remember going to this first little garage sale, and I picked up a goofy little metal cart, and I put some wood on top of it, right? And my wife said, well, that's really cool. My family said that's really cool. So it kind of grew from that. Evolved. I've been doing it for probably 6-7 years now, and now it's full-blown, all from my dad essentially being into hot rods and this. I don't even know how to put a name on it. No, yeah, it's Americana, but I can't put a name on it because it started off with building stuff with my hands, but now it's partially collecting. It's this table, taking these old beams, having them milled down and using them like they are, and then trying to, build a flathead V8, never knowing what I'm doing. And so it's, I don't know, it's the whole process of finding really cool things. I never cover up what's original. I try to unveil what was originally there, and that's what's cool. So this shop, for instance, brand new, kind of modern looking on the outside, boom, 1940 on the inside, and everything in here represents what's going on in my brain from back in the day, what I remember from my grandpa, what I know of my dad. And I just feel like everything older is cooler. It's I don't know, it's part of me, it's a personality.
This building's almost like yourself. If someone saw you're not gonna wear like old school 1940s clothes all the time, but if someone looked in your brain, this is your brain. It's a vintage brain with like a modern body outside. That's how this building represents yourself.
I say that all the time. I said, you want a glimpse into me? We're here right now.
Yeah.
This is it. How it got there, I hate answering that question because I have no idea. It's like I woke up one day and this is kind of what I envisioned and then some. Yeah. And it's here and it's growing. The business is alive and well, selling tables, building industrial furniture, collecting, reselling, but most of all collaborating and meeting personalities and living it. There's a lot of people that go out and collect, and that's all they want to do is collect and look at it. This stuff ultimately means nothing to me. It's what it represents and the stories that it tells that means everything. The reason that you're here right now, we're able to have that conversation. That's special to me. This stuff isn't. But that you saw something maybe in yourself, or that I saw something and you are now talking about it. That's what's cool.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, someone can scientifically break all this stuff down to all materials. It's metal, it's cloth.
Yeah.
But the way it's put together and what it represents is what kind of brings people like you and I together. It's like, oh, we're in the same category. We both appreciate this same thing, almost like it was a genre of music. Hey, you like blues? I like blues too. And then that starts off a relationship. And kind of like that's why I brought up in the beginning, I want to kind of show people into, so to speak, your mind, your brain inside the structure. So it can be one or two things. It can benefit you in business. That's not why I'm here. It's almost I wanted to show appreciation for myself and my platform to show off this place, to be like, hey, I think it's really cool, and I think it's worth an afternoon to sit down and check out what you have. Think of it almost like a tour, What are some things that really stand out to you? Like, was it like the first sign that you got that you end up keeping? Like, a business sometimes has like the first dollar they ever made. They put it like in a frame. Is there anything like that that's similar in this building?
The 42 Ford. Now, the automobiles, they represent so much more. They cross genres and cross categories because they represent the patina of an old sign because it has the Ford script on it. It's, you can drive it, all that stuff. So the 42 Ford, the story that came along with that, a small town, Lind, Washington, I got contact. My dad is linked with almost everything you see in here. He is the reason I love this stuff, and he's the reason it will continue on when he's not here, and hopefully the reason that my kid takes it on when I'm not here, because just the love of it. But that truck he found in Lynn, Washington, and I chased it for years, and the guy finally called me up and said he wanted to sell it. So, but it's the relationship that I built with him. That truck won't be for sale for a long time because of that relationship we built. I can tell you the story about everything that you see here. The Shell gasoline sign up there. A gentleman passed away. His name was Bob, and he was a huge collector and a huge personality. He'd have all the boys over. They'd drink beer and they'd look at signs and build hot rods, right? And I got the opportunity to go in there and pick that sign. I've been offered quite a bit of money for it, way more than what I paid, and it's just something that's going to stay with me and connect.
Because what it represents.
Exactly because of what it represents.
Yeah, not because it's a piece of metal, but because of what the memory.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's something that a lot of times when people suffer from, Alzheimer's, like it's funny how one song or one item or one smell bring up a certain memory that they've thought they've forgotten, you know, but this is something to where it's never going to be forgotten. How many years have you been doing this?
7 years.
7 years? And then you think it really picked up the last 2 years, like during the process of the building of this actual building, or do you think it's always been kind of moving pretty good?
It's really hard to represent your personality and style when all of the stuff that you find that you fall in love with that represents those relationships is in a storage unit. So I had a large storage unit, not a mini storage, it's called a maxi storage. That's where all my stuff was. And to take people down there and show them, it's kind of like you're just going into a big junk building. They didn't get it. The second this building was built, with, you know, my wife and I went through the process of designing the shop and what do we want it to look like, and she just kind of go with me. She knew I kind of have a little bit of style, so she's like, do what you want to do. So I put up barnwood on the walls. I want it, besides the lid, when you walk in here, I honestly want people to be emotionally affected by it if they have any experience with old cool stuff. I want it to touch them. I want them to look up on the racks and say, how in the world did you accumulate this stuff? So the last 2 years with the building being built, I'm able to express myself through the pieces. And like you said, it's constantly evolving, so the next time you come here, it'll be completely transformed. Every time people come here, and it's a month or two, there's always new stuff. This table won't be here. Those little sofas, they'll be moved on. Somebody will want them. There'll be new signs, new lights, that truck might still be there. Hopefully it's running. But this building, and the last 2 years, it's blown up because people can see my personality in the stuff here, and we can actually hang out and live it. If you look right over there, by the Coca-Cola
Behind
thermometer.
it, this is Danger, or above?
The one above it, this says
Chronicle.
it says Spokane Daily Chronicle Carrier. So we're on this property. My son at the time is 2 years old, and we go way back in the trees, back in there, and we're walking in the trees, and is he really into antiques and cool stuff? Probably not, but he sees it around. I mean, that's normal to him. But he reaches in the dirt and he sees this little corner of this orange metal. And he goes, Daddy, it's like what you have in your shop. And he reaches down and he wipes it away and he pulls it out. And it's a little double-sided tin Spokane Chronicle from the 30s that would hang from the back of a bicycle seat.
Oh, wow.
So the little mail carriers had these Spokane Chronicle signs, tin signs driving around. They know what the cars that drive by. I mean, you think about that in the day. That is what it's all about.
You can't sell that. That's your son's first find.
That's forever.
That's
That'll
forever.
stay forever. That's probably the most valuable thing to me in this entire place because we did that together.
I guess the only the way I can relate to that someday, if I have a son and he has his own camera and shoots a picture of a car that's sitting somewhere, and it's like, oh, that's his first car shoot or shot. That's your son's first find.
It is.
You know, that stuff like that's priceless, because the thing is, when is you capture something organically, it means more. If something is staged, it may still feel good, but when it happens more naturally,
Yeah.
that's where, just like this, where I can have a list of questions. What do you sell? Do you make enough money? But like that doesn't, that's not the heart and soul. To me, that's more
Sure.
artificial. But
Yeah.
this is like, let's just spitball. Let's just go crazy. I'm going to ask you questions I would ask you if these cameras weren't here. You know what I mean?
Bingo.
And when did it kind of hit you where, not necessarily when people start to appreciate what you're doing, but you're doing something like, hey, I must be doing something right. When you got guys like myself and other people, even without cameras, coming in and be like, dude, I just want to hang out here. I want to have my birthday party here. Has anyone like me have said something very similar?
Lots of guys. Darren, who filmed last week, I remember when I first kind of got it set up and it was cool. And he brings this, he's got an amazing place down there, and he brings his hot rod down and he wants to drive it in here and photograph it. Brings a professional photographer in here and wants to photograph it in here. And he's like, I'm like, really? In here? But when I started getting calls from New York and the big cities, hey, I see what you're doing. I'd like you to build me something. I really like what you're putting together. Where's your showroom? Are you in Seattle? And I'm thinking to myself, honestly, I am a humble person. I don't think that I'm better than anybody else for any reason. And the idea that people think this is amazing kind of weirds me out, blows my mind a little bit, because it's just kind of natural. It's what I like to do. I mean, the same thing with the guys building the $100,000 hot rods. It's pretty easy to build a hot rod, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not. And so when I put together a fantastic table, I sold a table for $8,000, a crank table that tilted up and down, and this table was in my mind for years, and I finally went for it. I got the confidence to go for it. I went for it, and people went crazy. It was a Yates and American #1, first ever made industrial table saw. Back when the table moved to make a miter cut versus the blade, right? So now we have blades that go up and down, tilt side to side. Back then, it's just enough to get the blade to turn to run a board through it. So they do that, but they make the table tilt. I took the tabletop off, found a piece of 7 foot by 3 foot bulletproof glass Lexan, and tapped into it, bolted onto it, and then put a little piece of angle or a strap metal on the end, and it cranks up and down and tilts. It's an architect's desk. And selling that was kind of like this confirmation. Okay, no one's ever built that.
Yeah.
Ever. In America. That's never been done. And it sounds kind of goofy, but it was kind of like, you're doing something right. And people went, I think on Instagram there might have been 30,000 views of that one thing.
Oh, wow.
But for my Instagram at the time, that was quite significant. And so that was an affirmation that I'm doing something right. And just the constant social media is really good, and family and friends are always going to say you're doing something great, but strangers that say, I really can't believe this.
That's the beautiful thing about social media. It's the fact you can always find negative things on there, right? But the fact is, when someone takes time out of their day to show you appreciation for what you're doing, that's something like if there was no such thing as social media and you were doing it, and someone walked in and be like, hey, I saw some old sign from the road and saw what you're doing. Hey, this is really cool. That's going to mean it's just as much to you.
Yeah.
But the fact is, daily people could see stuff, and like that's why people want to follow you, and that's why people want to watch this. The fact that it's like, it takes effort and time, blood, sweat, and tears to create something like this. Because even if you had all the money in the world, with that direction, you still probably wouldn't end up with something like this.
Right.
There's not the stories. Instead of going, I found this Chronicle on eBay or Etsy.
Right.
Compared to my son found it, that is priceless. That has a price. Buying offline has a price, but yet when you are affiliated with it, that intimate part of it, that's priceless.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to keep showing. Like literally, where if it was just rolling music, and I was just showing everything, people would watch it because they don't know what's coming next, because they don't know what's in here. And almost like I don't even know what's in here. Like I know, to me, it's like when I walk around the museums that I shoot at, it's like you can go there 1,000 times, but there's more than 1,000 items, and you may miss something next time you come. Like I think that, besides, even if you sold something or you changed something, I can probably still walk around and be like, oh, I didn't see that last time. I didn't see that last time.
Always.
Yeah.
I get that. We had a little gathering, family gathering. Father-in-law brings his buddy over, and he said, Cody, I have walked around here. Literally, this is my 10th time around. I see something new that I love every single time. Tell me about this. That, above all other things, is why I do this. It's not about selling it. It's not about money. Money is the least reason. If this brought me no compensation, I would still be doing it because I enjoy it. When he walks around and he says, tell me about this, boom, instant engaged, like uninterrupted conversation that is meaningful. And then he goes to tell me, my grandpa had that. I was in Wisconsin in this barn, and that exact thing was sitting there, and he used to turn the crank on it, you know, and this emotion he lights up gives me goosebumps to talk about it.
Yeah.
All by a silly piece. Is it the piece? Well, no, but yes, but it's the conversation that I saw it, and that he couldn't believe that I had the same thing. It's just this
It brings
emotion.
back this emotion. And that's actually going to be one of the things I want to know about. So anyone came in here and be like, you have no idea, like my great uncle, my grandpa, my dad used to have this, and I remember like I used to walk past this sign like in his shop or his office, whatever it was. Has there anyone besides the story that you had like really been affected emotionally, where you go like, oh my gosh, this guy's actually kind of like tearing up or like getting like, you know, deep breaths just by one item besides the gentleman you just talked about? Countless?
Hundreds, countless
That's
times.
a good thing.
Countless times. The one that strikes me is it's across the things that I do. I might have mentioned to you the last time I was here, one of my old patients at the Veterans Home, he was 90-something years old, and he wasn't my patient. He was one of my great friends. And the stories that he told me is just amazing. Well, he passed away, and his daughter came over, and she constantly follows the things that I do, and she sees for instance that old workbench, you know, and the drawers that pull out, and instantly tears drop down her eyes. And I said, like, what are you looking at? She goes, just the bench. And then she starts looking around, and she starts just kind of welling up, and she goes, Cody, you have no idea. Like, you are him.
Oh, that must have been such a boost of...
Oh, and I'm going, I mean, really gets me all goosed up. But she's sitting, and she says every bit of it. She says every bit of what you're doing right now is what he was doing and what his dad did. Like, I remember she said, I remember Grandpa doing this stuff. This is her dad. We're talking, you know, World War I guys now. That's the age of these people that if you can elicit that kind of emotion simply by placing stuff and appreciating old stuff, bringing the life out of old stuff and not just junking it, you know, it's not for everybody, but I think it's pretty darn special.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the Coke machine. Guy comes in, I remember the Coca-Cola stuff, right? I'm not huge on Coca-Cola stuff, but I appreciate it. I buy it. I know I can sell it for more money. So I bring it here, and boom, I mean, a neighbor comes over and he goes, my dad had this. I reached into these things, and it wasn't about reaching in and getting a cold drink. It was about opening up that machine. It's like when you're a little kid and you can hardly see over the lid, and you reach over and you grab it and you look in. It's like, what treasure lies under here, right? Is it about the Coca-Cola machine? Not then, but it is now. So
It's just that moment.
It is.
Obtaining the item that's underneath that lid. So you were just talking about, you know, certain items that people just, you know, have got emotional over. And I think that's what I kind of feel. If I see a certain car or a certain photo of a car that I've shot, like say if someone like Andy Souther Jr. who shot like the Sam Barris Buick that I just shot for Raw and Culture, and someone that I look up to have his photo in the same print as mine, like my shot with Andy's shot of a car that's literally like the pinnacle, and like there's only one Sam Barris Buick. I'm like, where a gun to my head, it's like, what if I paid you $500,000, would you never shot that, never met Andy, and never had that feature together, I'm like, no.
Nope.
Because after I spend that money, that something that's priceless to me is gone. Now, when I look at this truck, when I look at this flag, and I can go to every item in the room, is there something that you can't wait to not necessarily work on? Is there something here in this trip that you're like, I can't wait to put this online? I can't wait to see this go off to a new home. Is there something you're really going to try to push this time, or you can't? Because you said, like you said, you're not going to refurbish it. You're never going to cover up old stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You only kind of fix something if it is broken, not don't fix it's not
Sure,
broken.
yeah, and I don't, and fixing something is more like putting it back into function, right? Yeah. So this table is a really good example. This came out of an old machine shop, and the legs were just covered in tar, and I knew that there was something special, and
Underneath.
yeah, and the idea of getting that and putting it back in and cleaning it up and lacquering it, I knew that it would be a special table. That's one, for instance. That particular light over there, the marquee light, quite sought after. I've driven past that sign on a building about 30 miles from here that's right next to my hometown my entire life. So 38 years, either my parents are driving me or I'm driving past this sign on that building. Well, I finally got the sign, and I'm going to put my Lincoln Motors logo within that. And so I can't wait to do that. I couldn't wait to get the gas sign done. So that's a dead original 1940s to 1950s gas sign. Double-sided gas. This one's kind of cute because I didn't catch on to it really quick. So I bought this sign, double-sided, and I said I'm going to hang it in my shop right up here horizontally. Well, it seems to make a whole lot of sense until one side reads gas and then the other side reads SAG when it's horizontal. So, so you don't think about that, at least I didn't. Well, it went on a pole and it was vertical. And so vertical is gas both ways. Horizontal is gas and SAG. So I said, well, that's not going to work. But I can't wait to see it in neon. It's amazing to bring out the patina. The other side's clearly right there. That side was in the sun, and the G and the A is behind that. That side was in the sun, so it got completely tattered. So they retouched it up and retouched it up and retouched it up. There's 6 layers of paint on that. That's a very patina side. This one is real original. So I ripped it. Quite the process. I took my angle grinder with the cutoff wheel and I ripped it all the way through. And then I framed the inside, and I did both. So I'll keep one, put it on the wall, and the other one's going to go down the road to somebody who, I mean, maybe somebody will see this little thing you're putting together and say, tell me about that gas sign. Would he sell that? Well, I'd sell one side of it, right? So that one was really fun to see put together. I could just go on and on and on.
If anybody's watching this, how they get a hold of you, if they're interested in something you have, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
LincolnBuildWorks.com will link you to Instagram and Facebook, but Instagram primarily is the biggest seller for me. Majority of the time, anything that is new comes in will get photographed before it's done and then after it's done. And if anybody wants a particular item,
it gets kind of the interest ruined, the snowball effect.
Exactly.
When it's finally done, they're like, oh, it's done. I'm gonna go hit them up now.
Before and after. I mean, for instance, today
That Ford sign.
Yep, the Ford sign. My buddy saw a photo of that when I first got it, and he's like, my old man wants this, and boom, it was gone. I posted a 31. I'm looking for a Model A.
Yep.
And so I posted that today. Boom, wildfire. I've got all sorts of people saying, you interested in this one and this one and this one? So Instagram is hot, and I feel like I nurture that the most, and the connections with people is huge. I can't believe the connections.
Well, that's why I love seeing stuff like your page and yourself just getting a bunch of following, because even though at the end of the day it's not about that number of followers, but it just lets me know a lot of people are going to get to see cool stuff every day, every time they turn on their phone. Again, you can use technology in a negative way, but to me what you got going on is a positive way, and that's why I wanted to visit this time and just bring more positive for this. So
yeah,
man, Sorry.
Oh, well, ultimately,
I'm so excited. Like I want to say appreciate, and I had to like shake. Let me actually really shake your hand. You know what I mean?
so the thing to me though, no, this is it. The appreciation goes to you. The idea that a rod and culture guy wants to sit in this building. You asked about like kind of the affirmation that you're doing something right. I don't view what I'm doing as something amazing. The idea that you want to sit here and talk with me about this says both that I'm doing something right and that I care about people and that my personality is represented in my stuff. Ultimately, that's what it is. I want people to see that there is lifestyle and love and, culture in all this stuff. It's not just stuff. It's us,
It's a bunch of pockets of memory hanging all over the wall that someone else can have in their home someday.
It is, and it's got feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just bad, man. It's just bad. I just love it. My wife even likes it now. She hated this stuff at first.
Well, I think that's the perfect way to end this.